It's not smooth at all. It's like, it's so annoying. All right, today we're moving the sheep to a new paddock. It's a short move, but then later we're gonna do a paddock review of all my different pastures. Before we do that, I really wanna ask a favor from you. Where can I get a side-by-side that doesn't suck? Now, this John Deere has been very good. I have treated it very roughly, but as you can see, it has some problems. It's chronically in drive now. And I have to put a chock under the wheel so it doesn't roll down the hill. I can't no longer put it in park. Also, it's very herky-jerky. It's like driving a tractor with a stiff clutch. I don't want a razor, like a racer side-by-side. What's a good side-by-side that's got a bed, preferably dumpable, got a winch, but it doesn't cost $59,000 because I'm not about that. So tell me in the comments, if you've got a side-by-side, what kind do you use and do you like it or not? All right, we're gonna feed dog it, we're gonna move the sheep, and we're gonna do a pasture review. Let's go. They should be happy to see me. They've been in that paddock for 3 days, and it's a big paddock, but they're probably ready to move. Come on, cheep. They have trouble getting around the corner. Nah, we're good, okay. Where'd that little one? Oh, I see him, okay, here we go. Come on, sheep. So usually every spring when the grass flushes, we have dirty butts for a week or 2 or 3, but this year it's been way less. You can see a few are a little dirty, but not like it was in years past. So I'm taking that as a good sign. They get 1 bucket of food with each move. So that's a bucket of food every 2 to 6 days, depending on how big the paddock is. And we're gonna go around and look at each individual paddock, and we're gonna start here. We call this the bottom for obvious reasons. If we get a 3 or 4 inch rain, this will be underwater for 2 or 3 days. This is the very first paddock I started working on. And when we moved here, there was nothing but scrub. It was broom sedge. It was just junk weeds that the sheep wouldn't touch. You can see there's clover everywhere now, some of which I planted, some of which has just come forth because of the hoof impact and the pee and the poop and them grazing and rotating and doing what they're supposed to be doing to heal the soil and heal the land. And so we've got orchard grass, we've got fescue, we've got clover, and then there's also a bunch of weeds and a lot of tree saplings that they'll actually eat the leaves off of. Nisha and I were talking the other day, last year there was 5 times as much broom sedge in this paddock, and now you have to kind of look closely in order to see the broom sedge, and that's a great sign that we're doing things right. Overall, I'm very happy with this paddock. I would give it a B for right now, and we're working on getting an A+ in a few years. One of our paddocks currently is our yard because we don't have enough pasture yet. So I put them in the yard about 1 day every 20 days. I can't leave them in the yard too many days because there's not enough grass, and also Nisha does not like the sheep poop factor much, and so they're here for 8 to 18 hours, and then I get them out of the yard. But there's lots of orchard grass and clover, so rather than pay somebody $500 to mow the yard, how about we just turn that into delicious lamb chops? That's my current plan. So you can see we got some pretty lush patches of clover, and then over on the other side of the yard there's some great orchard grass as well, and then there's a lot of tree saplings where I've cut down trees and coppiced and pollarded trees where there's some leaves coming up that they can get that nutrition from deep in the soil. But this paddock here on the other side of the fence, this is actually part of what we call the bulldozer paddock, because we had a friend come in, and this is the only paddock that I've had a bulldozer. Now this part I did by hand, so every brush pile you see I did that. But over on the other side of this really large paddock, it's probably 2 acres, maybe 3. We had our friend come and bulldoze the trees, and I wanted to just do an experiment. I sowed this clover, so that's man-made clover. But when you look out over the woods when we first moved here were literally 10 times thicker than this. Okay, I mean, you could not see 20 feet across this paddock because your view was completely obstructed by junk forage, by junk trees, by weeds, by grapevines that were literally this big around, and then also briars that were as big around as my thumb that went from the ground all the way to the tip top of the trees. And so I've spent many hours and many drops of sweat out here trying to turn this into actual usable pasture. And it's going to be another 5 years before this is any kind of really braggable paddock. Right now it's just like, yeah, I can put them in there for 2 or 3 days between moves to rest everything else. But this is really almost a throwaway paddock right now, but it's not always going to be that way. So we're in the bulldozer paddock still. This is kind of the middle of it. And I wanted to talk about this lane. This is what the family calls the shooting lane. Probably 35 years ago, William B., Nisha's grandfather, cleared this out. And every year they would put down lime and fertilizer, and they would sow and make a deer plot. And so, which is great because it looks beautiful for that year. And you get a big buck or two off of it, but the soil, I've been working on this for 4 years now, and it's still junk. If you've got a plot that you're like, every year we disc it up and we spend $1,000 or $2,000 on fertilizer and junk, and then we sow it, you're destroying the soil microbiome potentially for decades. I don't know how many years it's going to take me before this is actually usable pasture that I can brag about, because currently that ain't what it is. Okay, currently it's a junk throwaway paddock that I just let them basically stand here and pee and poop, trying to hope to eventually wake up the soil. So this is the other side of the bulldozer paddock, and you can see these humongous brush piles that were obviously done by a bulldozer. I'm good, but I'm not that good. This has been dense deciduous hardwood forest for many generations. And so even though you can see I've got a bunch of hay unrolled underneath it, it's just nothing happening yet here. I let them pee and poop on it. I let them stomp it. I keep unrolling hay. I keep hoping for the best. I have not added any lime or any fertilizer yet to this. I've probably sowed $2,000 or $3,000 worth of grass seed on this huge paddock so far, because soil in a deep forest has a much different pH. It has a much different microbiome than pasture soil does. And so it doesn't surprise me that it's going to take 3 or 4 more years of me trying to convert this from deep forest soil into silvopasture soil. I'm not going to give up, but sometimes I need to take an extra dose of vitamin P. Patience. So this is a tulip poplar. And so even though we knocked down all these huge trees you see in the brush pile, these trees are trying to come up left and right. And there's about 10 of these species that the sheep absolutely love. And so when they come in this paddock, this will start out looking like this, but then after I've moved them, it'll look like that. And so these things have roots probably 10 feet deep, right? So they're pulling the minerals and stuff from deep in the soil. The sheep are going to eat it and then pee and poop it back out and put it on the surface layer, and that's what's going to be feeding the grass and the clover, forbs, legumes. Eventually, I don't want these in the pasture, but right now I'm actually happy that they're here because the sheep love them, and it's pulling that nutrition up from very deep. And after they've stripped these 5 or 10 times, they'll just give up and go to heaven, and they'll stop trying to grow. And that'll leave more room for the grass and the clover and the other stuff, but also all that nutrition that it pulled up from deep underground will be on the surface 3 inches feeding the grass. I'm still really jealous of Greg Judy that he's got his sheep trained on 1 strand. I still have to do 2 strands or they get out. I always have to watch and make sure something in the undercarriage doesn't hook the fence. We're good. So I'm going to take you down the road and show you the power line paddock, and I haven't actually had them over there yet because it's such junky forage. There's really not anything for them to eat. But later this summer, I think I'm going to take them over there for the first time. I've actually cleared a quarter-mile path through the woods so I don't have to walk them down the road a quarter-mile. Like I said, they haven't been on this paddock yet because it's just predominantly broom sedge and other junk. I sowed some clover, I sowed some fescue out here because it's full sun, really hot summers. This is pretty poor forage right here, but I'm gonna probably keep them here for a day or two just so they can pee and poop on it and stomp on everything and start to stimulate the earth to wake back up. And over here, there's probably 30 or 40 tulip poplars and sweet gums that while they're in here, I'll go ahead and drop them into the paddock so they can eat the leaves off those. That's gonna be opening up the canopy, also giving them that nutrition from 30, 40 feet under the ground so that they can lay it back out in the top 3 inches of soil in the form of their pee and poop. This paddock we call back Birdie because all this property used to be owned by this sweet little lady named Birdie. So this is back Birdie, and there's a 1 billion sweet gum and tulip poplar saplings coming up. There's still some mayapple trying to grow in here. I've sowed a few bags of clover and fescue and orchard grass, but it's not really much. This field used to be just farmed to death like every other field in America, but for the last probably 20 years, it's just been a field that a guy bush hogged 2 or 3 times a year. Nobody ever really did anything with it. So this is the back part of back Birdie, and you can see there's some grass starting to come back here. I've cut at least 10,000 saplings of sweet gum, black gum, iron, hop horn beam, all the junk trees, and just piled them up. But every now and then when I'm out here, I get just a happy discovery. And so I had no idea I was shaping this cedar up because that's a pretty good post. And I store my cedar posts in the ground until I'm ready for them. But then I looked at this tree and I'm like, this is a black walnut. And I had no idea. Like literally, I even cut this old dead limb off and still didn't realize this was a black walnut. And so the minute I realized that, I marked it because me and my crazy chainsaw ass will come out here one day and get a wild hair and cut this tree. But I'm never gonna cut a black walnut if I know about it. This is our last big paddock, and this is the paddock I am proudest of. We bought this, I think, 2 years ago. You can see there's orchard grass, there's clover, there's fescue, this pasture, and also this paddock is huge. And so I can leave them in here 3, 4, really 5 days in a pinch. But they get so fat when they're in this paddock and they love it. They just disappear and I don't see them for 2 or 3 days. I can come over here with a bucket. They're like, we're not even interested in the bucket. We're full. And so there's huge persimmons in here. There's huge black oak. There's a ton of dogwood and redbud, ton of persimmon trees. They were here 6 days ago. You can't even tell they were here. That's how good this grass is. Let's walk and look at it. So my goal is one day that all of our paddocks will look like this when the sheep haven't been here in 5 days, but we're not there yet. I think the reason it's so good is years ago, for probably 25, 30 years, it was a horse pasture. And I'm still pulling out the horse fence that was all the way around the thing. I keep finding barbed wire everywhere. But I think that all of that old horse hoof, horse poop, horse pee action, and them grazing on this, I think that's why this came to the front so quickly. Because no matter how far back you walk, it looks like this. I mean, it just makes me happy in my heart to see this forage looking like this. And I rotate them over here as often as I can, but I definitely don't want to overgraze this or it'll start to look like my other paddocks that I'm not very proud of. But this is by far and away the best paddock on the farm. So take home message from this video is it's gonna take time. If you do this right, you're not gonna go from having a fallow field to a beautiful pasture in a year or two. This is the second year, and like I said earlier, there's a ton of reasons that this pasture looks so good and my other pastures look like crap. You've got to have patience. If you want to save money and do this inexpensively, you're going to have patience. It's going to take a lot of elbow grease. It's going to take a lot of thinking. It's going to take a lot of judicious livestock moves to not only feed the livestock and fill up their belly, but to use them to reawaken the soil. and to reestablish the microbiome in the soil and to get all of the vitamins and minerals coming back up out of the earth again. Two things are incompatible: being in a hurry and doing it inexpensively. Those things don't mix, okay? So if you want to do it inexpensively, it's going to take a few years. If you want to do it quick, the co-op truck is happy to come out to your place tomorrow, and they'll leave a bill for several $1,000s. It's up to you. Hope you enjoyed this farm tour. This is Ken Berry. I'll see you next time on the farm.